What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actresses walks into what she thinks is a friendly interview, only to find herself ambushed by a host with a personal vendetta? Today, we're diving into the explosive confrontation that had Nicole Kidman storming off the View set, leaving Joy Behar speechless and the audience in complete shock. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think really motivated Joy's attack. Now, let's get into what really went down. The studio lights were blazing as Nicole Kidman settled into her chair on the View set, her trademark grace evident even in the casual pre-interview chatter. She had come to promote her latest film, expecting the usual mix of career questions and light banter that had become routine for her countless television appearances. What she didn't know was that Joy Behar had spent the entire morning researching old interviews, looking for ammunition. Welcome back to The View. I'm Joy Behar, and we're here with the incredibly talented Nicole Kidman. Joy began, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Nicole, it's so wonderful to have you here with us today. Thank you for having me, Joy. It's always a pleasure to be on the show, Nicole replied warmly, completely unaware of the storm brewing behind Joy's seemingly pleasant demeanor. The first few minutes proceeded normally. They discussed Nicole's new film, her preparation for the role, and her experiences working with the director. But those watching closely could see Joy's posture shifting, her questions becoming slightly more pointed with each exchange. You know, Nicole, I was reading some of your old interviews, Joy said, leaning forward with what could only be described as predatory interest. You've been quite vocal about your political views over the years, haven't you? Nicole's smile faltered slightly, sensing the shift in tone. Well, I think it's important for people to be engaged with the world around them, yes. But I try to keep my focus on my work when I'm here to promote a film. Oh, but surely you can't just turn off your opinions when it's convenient. Joy pressed, her voice taking on an edge that made the studio audience shift uncomfortably in their seats. I mean, you've made some pretty strong statements about certain political figures. Joy, I'm really here to talk about the film, Nicole said, maintaining her composure but clearly becoming uncomfortable. I think the audience would be more interested in hearing about the incredible story we're telling. Joy's laugh was sharp and calculating. The audience can decide what they're interested in, can't they? I'm just curious about this tendency you have to speak out on issues and then retreat when someone wants to discuss them properly. The other hosts exchanged glances, recognizing that Joy was going off script and into dangerous territory. Whoopi tried to interject, "Maybe we should talk about the amazing cast you worked with, Nicole." But Joy wasn't having it. No, I think this is important. Nicole, you made some comments a few years ago about the entertainment industry and how it handles certain issues. Do you still stand by those comments? Or was that just another case of Hollywood virtue signaling? Nicole's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. I'm not sure what specific comments you're referring to, Joy, but I've always tried to speak honestly about issues I care about. Oh, come on, Nicole, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Joy shot back, her voice rising slightly. You criticize the industry for not doing enough, but then when push comes to shove, you're right there collecting your paychecks and keeping quiet when it matters. The studio fell silent, except for the hum of cameras. Nicole took a deep breath, clearly struggling to maintain her professional demeanor. Joy, I think there might be some misunderstanding here. I've consistently supported causes I believe in, both publicly and privately. Consistently? Really? Joy's voice dripped with sarcasm. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you pick and choose when to have a conscience based on what's convenient for your career. Nicole's eyes flashed, the first crack in her composed facade. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to sit here and have my integrity questioned based on some twisted interpretation of past interviews. Twisted interpretation? Joy leaned back in her chair, a satisfied smirk playing at her lips. I'm just pointing out the inconsistencies in your public persona, Nicole. Isn't that what journalism is supposed to do? Journalism? Nicole's voice carried a note of disbelief. Is that what you call this ambush? I came here in good faith to discuss my work, and you're trying to create some kind of controversy where none exists. Joy's mask was slipping now, her true intentions becoming clear. Controversy? Oh, Nicole, if you think asking tough questions is creating controversy, maybe you're not as committed to those principles as you claim to be. The tension in the studio was palpable. Camera operators continued filming, unsure whether to cut away, as the interview spiraled completely out of control. Nicole's hands were clasped tightly in her lap, her knuckles white with the effort of maintaining control. You know what, Joy? Nicole said, her voice steady but cold. I've been doing interviews for over 30 years, and I can tell the difference between tough questions and a personal attack. This isn't journalism, it's a hit job. Joy's eyes lit up with malicious pleasure. A hit job? That's quite an accusation, Nicole. Maybe the problem isn't my questions. Maybe the problem is that you can't handle being held accountable for your own words. Accountable for what exactly? Nicole demanded, her composure finally beginning to crack. For having opinions? For caring about issues? For not being the puppet you apparently expected me to be? The studio audience was dead silent, sensing they were witnessing something unprecedented. Even the camera crew seemed frozen, unsure how to handle what was rapidly becoming a full-scale confrontation between two powerful women in entertainment. Joy leaned forward aggressively, clearly emboldened by Nicole's visible frustration. Oh, so now I'm the villain for asking you to explain your own contradictions? That's rich, Nicole. Really rich. What contradictions? Nicole's voice was sharp now, all pretense of politeness abandoned. You keep making these vague accusations without actually citing anything specific. If you have something to say, then say it clearly instead of hiding behind these insinuations. Joy's smile turned venomous. Fine, let's talk specifics. 3 years ago, you gave an interview where you criticized actors who stay silent on important issues. You said, and I quote, "That silence in the face of injustice makes you complicit." But then, when that whole scandal broke out involving your production company's investors, where was your voice then? Nicole's face went pale, but her voice remained steady. That situation was completely different, and you know it. Legal proceedings were involved, and speaking out could have compromised ongoing investigations. Oh, how convenient, Joy sneered. Legal proceedings, the perfect excuse for selective activism. Tell me, Nicole, how do you sleep at night knowing you profited from those investments while lecturing the rest of us about moral responsibility? The other host looked mortified. Sunny tried desperately to redirect. Perhaps we could discuss Nicole's philanthropic work instead. But Joy cut her off with a dismissive wave. No, Sunny. I think our audience deserves to hear Nicole explain how she reconciles her public statements with her private business dealings. Isn't that fair, Nicole? Nicole's composure was hanging by a thread. Joy, what you're doing right now is exactly what's wrong with media today. You're taking complex situations, stripping away all context, and presenting them as black and white moral failures. It's dishonest, and it's beneath you. Beneath me? Joy's voice rose to a near shout. I'm not the one who built a career on playing the virtuous leading lady while making backroom deals that contradict everything I claim to stand for. At least I'm honest about who I am. Honest? Nicole laughed bitterly. You call this ambush honest? You invited me here under false pretenses, prepared this attack without giving me any opportunity to respond properly, and now you're sitting there acting like you're some kind of crusading journalist. This isn't honest, Joy. It's cowardly. The word hung in the air like a slap. Joy's face flushed red with anger. Cowardly? Did you just call me cowardly? I've been asking the hard questions in this business longer than you've been playing dress-up for the cameras, sweetheart. Don't you dare condescend to me, Nicole snapped, finally letting her anger show fully. I've worked my entire career to be taken seriously as an artist and as a person, and I'm not going to sit here while you try to tear that down with your tabloid journalism tactics. Joy stood up from her chair, pointing an accusing finger at Nicole. Tabloid journalism? I'm exposing the hypocrisy of Hollywood elites who think they can lecture regular people about morality while living completely different standards in private. That's real journalism, Nicole, not whatever fantasy you're living in. Nicole remained seated, but her voice carried a dangerous edge. The only fantasy here is your delusion that what you're doing right now serves any purpose other than feeding your own ego. You're not exposing anything, Joy. You're just bullying someone because you know they can't fight back the same way you can. Can't fight back? Joy's laugh was harsh and mocking. Oh, please. You're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, you have teams of publicists and lawyers, and you want to play the victim? Give me a break. Money doesn't protect you from character assassination, Nicole replied coldly, and that's exactly what this is. You've taken rumors, speculation, and half-truths and presented them as facts to ambush someone who came here in good faith. If that's not character assassination, what is it? Joy's mask slipped completely now, revealing the pure malice underneath. It's accountability, Nicole, something you clearly aren't used to. In the real world, people have to answer for their actions and their choices. They don't get to hide behind their celebrity status and their carefully crafted public image. Accountability? Nicole's voice was incredulous. Joy, you haven't asked me a single legitimate question this entire time. You've made accusations, you've implied wrongdoing without evidence, and you've twisted past statements to fit whatever narrative you decided on before I even walked in here. That's not accountability, that's a hit piece. The studio audience was completely silent, many looking uncomfortable at witnessing such a brutal public confrontation. The camera operators continued filming, knowing they were capturing something that would be talked about for years. Joy sat back down, but her posture remained aggressive. A hit piece? I'm sorry that holding you to your own standards feels like an attack. Maybe that should tell you something about those standards. My standards? Nicole's voice was dangerously quiet now. Joy, what standards are you holding me to that you don't hold yourself to? When was the last time you admitted you were wrong about something? When was the last time you apologized for misrepresenting someone's words or actions? You sit at that desk every day and pass judgment on everyone else, but you never seem to apply that same scrutiny to yourself. Joy's eyes narrowed. Don't try to turn this around on me, Nicole. I'm not the one with the inconsistencies. I'm not the one who built a career on being America's sweetheart while making deals with questionable people behind the scenes. Questionable people? Nicole's voice rose. Joy, are you seriously going to sit there and make vague accusations about my business associates without providing any specifics? That's not journalism, that's gossip mongering, and frankly, it's beneath what this show used to represent. The other hosts looked desperately at the producers off camera, silently pleading for someone to intervene. But Joy was in full attack mode now, seemingly oblivious to how far over the line she had crossed. What this show represents is truth, Nicole. Something you seem to have a complicated relationship with. We don't just smile and nod when celebrities come on here to promote their latest projects. We ask real questions about real issues. Real questions? Nicole stood up now, her patience finally exhausted. Joy, you haven't asked me a single real question. You've made accusations disguised as questions. There's a difference, and if you can't see it, then maybe you shouldn't be in this chair. Joy shot to her feet, her face contorted with rage. Don't you dare tell me how to do my job? I've been hosting television shows since before you were even a household name. I don't need career advice from someone who thinks being pretty is a qualification for having opinions. The insult hung in the air like a bomb. Nicole's eyes flashed with fury. Being pretty? Is that really what you think this is about? Joy, I have been working in this industry for over 3 decades. I have produced films. I have fought for women's rights, both on screen and off. And I have used my platform to raise awareness for causes I believe in. If you want to reduce all of that to being pretty, then you're even more shallow than I thought. Shallow? Joy's voice was shaking with anger now. I'm shallow? You're the one who married a country music star for publicity, and then acted like it was some great love story when everyone knew it was a career move. The studio gasped. Even the other hosts looked shocked at how personal and vicious Joy's attack had become. Nicole went completely still, her voice dropping to an ice-cold whisper. Now you're bringing my personal relationships into this? My marriage? Joy, that is completely out of bounds and you know it. What kind of journalist attacks someone's family? Joy seemed to realize she had gone too far, but instead of backing down, she doubled down. I'm just pointing out the pattern, Nicole. Everything in your life seems calculated for maximum public benefit. Your marriages, your children, your political statements, even the charities you support. It's all so perfectly curated. My children? Nicole's voice was deadly quiet now. Did you just question my relationship with my children? Joy, I don't care what issues you have with me professionally, but if you think you're going to sit there and attack my family, you are sorely mistaken. The other hosts were frantically trying to get Joy's attention, making cutting gestures and whispering urgently. But Joy was beyond reason now. I'm just saying that for someone who claims to value privacy, you certainly know how to use your personal life for publicity when it suits you. Nicole took a step toward Joy's chair, her composure completely shattered. You want to know what suits me, Joy? What suits me is not sitting here listening to some bitter, washed-up talk show host take cheap shots at my family because she's jealous of my success. Is that what this is really about? Professional jealousy? Jealous? Joy's laugh was hysterical now. Of what? Your fake marriages? Your manufactured image? Your ability to fool people into thinking you're something you're not? Trust me, Nicole, there's nothing about your life that I envy. Then why are you so obsessed with tearing it down? Nicole demanded. Joy, you've spent this entire interview trying to destroy my reputation based on nothing but speculation and gossip. If you're not jealous, then what drives this kind of vicious behavior? Joy's mask finally fell away completely, revealing the ugly truth underneath. Because people like you make me sick. You waltz around acting like you're better than everyone else, like you have all the answers. But underneath it all, you're just as fake and calculating as every other Hollywood phony. At least I'm honest about being difficult. At least you're honest about being difficult? Nicole repeated incredulously. Joy, do you hear yourself right now? You just admitted that this entire attack was motivated by personal animosity, not by any journalistic principle. You ambushed me because you don't like me personally. The studio was dead silent, except for the whir of cameras capturing every word of the unprecedented meltdown. Whoopi tried one last desperate attempt to salvage the situation. Ladies, maybe we should take a commercial break and... No, Nicole cut her off firmly. I'm not taking a break. I'm done. Joy, you've shown everyone watching exactly who you really are today. You've demonstrated that you're willing to abandon every principle of journalistic integrity just to settle some personal grudge that exists only in your head. Joy's face was purple with rage. Get off your high horse, Nicole. You think you can come in here and lecture me about integrity? You, who's built an entire career on lies and manipulation? What lies? Nicole demanded. What manipulation? Joy, you keep making these accusations, but you never back them up with facts. You just throw around insults and hope something sticks. That's not journalism, that's just sad. Sad? Joy was screaming now, completely out of control. You want to know what's sad? What's sad is watching America fall for your act year after year. What's sad is seeing someone with no real talent get handed everything on a silver platter because they look good in a dress. Nicole shook her head in disgust. You know what, Joy? I came here today thinking I was going to have a professional conversation about my work. Instead, I walked into an ambush orchestrated by someone who clearly